Joshua at church on Sunday, and I told him that how I had a brief panic attack last week because I thought I missed it. And he said, well, some people have missed before. So I made it nevertheless for here. I want to, like you said, I'm a student at Covenant Theological Seminary. My wife and I, she's actually a student as well. And we're looking, just so you know, about me, long-term missions to East Africa, maybe like Uganda. There's a seminary we're checking out called Uganda Baptist Seminary. Maybe this summer we'll go teach and feel if they like us, they'll like them, and that might be where we end up in perhaps 4 or 5 years. We've got to be debt-free going to feel. But it's a little bit about me. Some more details will come out. Today, we're going to be in John chapter 10. The sermon I entitled The Thief and the Shepherd. We're looking at John 10:10, actually, probably one of my favorite verses in the New Testament, all of the Bible. And we're going to read just for context, John 10, verses 1 through 21. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, and they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, and they flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. In this figure of speech, Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So Jesus again said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and he will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is the hired man, the hired hand, and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own voice. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them in also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life, and I take it up again. No one takes it up from me, but I lay down on my own accord. I have the authority to lay it down, and I have the authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father. And there was a great division among the Jews because of these words. Many of them said, He has a demon, and he is a saint. Why listen to him? And others said, These are not the words of one who is oppressed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this word. We thank you that you are the good shepherd. Lord, we thank you for the many gems and truths just within this short passage of Scripture. Lord, I pray for this time that you protect it. I pray that anything that would not be true would be wiped from the memory of the people here after I speak today. But Lord, I pray that they hear your voice through me, Lord. They hear the shepherd through your word. Just I pray that you bless this time, that we can be exhorted, we can be challenged with this. In your name we pray, dear Jesus, our shepherd. Amen. Lord, I want to just start off with a short story, kind of the context of, I'm going to come back to this in John chapter 10 and look at just verse 10. In 2009, I deployed to Iraq. This was the second time I joined the Marines just right out of high school. And I deployed to Iraq for my second time. I was with the Marines, and we were just north of Fallujah, and we were in what was called a BP, a battle position, just like, think like a fortress or something. We got 4 walls, 4 posts, and we were close, parallel to kind of a busy interstate, just as busy as I-64, just not as sophisticated. A couple couple 100 meters north of that. The north side of that was a smaller road, and we have 4 posts on each corner, and then you have 1 post in the middle, and you have 2 guys, fully clad. We've got our M16s and M4s, whatever weapon we have. We're on guard. And I was on the northeast post one of these days with one of the guys with me, and there's this narrow road on both sides are the Jersey barriers. Those are those concrete barriers. You see that divide 170 or 64. You have that on both sides, and that's to keep cars moving. So a vehicle borne on a car bomb couldn't just veer off and blow up the post. Well, it made it really narrow, maybe like a car width and a half, so only one vehicle could go at a time either way. Well, it was on the smaller side of this, kind of the more rural side of our post, of the base, and so there would be little shepherd boys that would go through their sheep, maybe anywhere from 10 to 16 years old. They would have between 20 to 50 sheep. They'd have like a stick, not like a full staff, and they would herd them through, go to the little pasture thing, herd them back through. There's one day, standing up there, staying on post, and coming here from the east is a shepherd boy with kind of a larger flock, about 50 sheep. And on the west side, here comes another shepherd boy with about 50 sheep. And we're just like, well, this is going to be great. This is going to be humorous to watch because this is going to be a mess. The sheep are going to have to just cram up against each other. They're going to get all over the place. This could, when you're standing on a post for 6 hours at a time, it's boring. So you play a lot of video games, like about movies and trying to connect like the 5 connections to Kevin Bacon's thing. So a lot of, and you get to know the other person really well. So we thought we're sitting in for some entertainment. And here the shepherd boys are coming closer with their sheep, and we're kind of just sitting back, okay, this is going to be good. It's going to be interesting. How are they going to get out of this one? And then what unveiled before us was just fascinating. Because the sheep with their shepherd just meshed through each other like a crowd and separated like water and oil. Not one sheep lingered or got confused, but which flock was mine? Where's my shepherd? I thought that was absolutely fascinating because the sheep knew their shepherd's voice. Knew it really well. In the context of our passage, in particular, verse John 10, it comes on the heels of John 8 and 9. Surprise. And namely, Jesus is addressing the Pharisees, who are false shepherds, thieves and robbers that came into the fold of sheep, by fraudulent means. Now, I want to just draw a couple things to our attention. That John 10 is kind of chapter divisions, verse divisions are fairly arbitrary. We know that they're added later. They're not inspired. So they help us universalize, refer to the text. John 10, though, isn't a new discourse. It's the exact same discourse that's continued. We know this by a couple things. One is the context of 8 and 9, where Jesus heals this blind man, this blind boy, that I'm speaking on his own behalf. He just continues through this. We have indication of that at the very end of the passage, which points back to the blind man. That's verse 21. Can a demon open the eyes of a blind man? He's pointing back. Another indication is that how this begins in John 10:1, truly, truly, I say to you, never occurs at the beginning of a discourse. It's always in the middle. You have that again at verse 7, truly, truly, I say to you. So this is just one longer discourse from chapters 8, chapters 9, chapter 10, just flooding through. So if it's like a movie, it's just a long scene, just extended. And that's our context. Jesus speaking to the Pharisees. And I just want to back up even a little bit farther and just consider kind of the backdrop of Israel during this time period. Now we know, think for a second, the Old Testament ends with, we know chronologically, Malachi, looking forward to Elijah, one that would come. Again, we have this 400-year gap, the intertestamental period, the silence from heaven, where we have prophets that ceased to be among Israel. And this wasn't a good time period for Israel. They had many wars. They were conquered by by the Persian kings, by the Greek kings, and then later the Romans. Pompey comes in. You have, if you've heard of the Apocrypha of the Maccabees, that's what occurs in this time period. Judas Maccabees, a Jew, throws off the ruling party for a time period. You have Hanukkah. All that happens. All that is to say, though, that Israel's identity was in flux in this regard. Think of the core tenets that become kind of like little indication marks of Israel. They're a people in a land they don't really own. They have no king. The prophets have ceased to be among them. And the priesthood was contested. We know this because you've heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a community of Jews that lived out there called the Essenes. The Essenes, the reason they were out there away from Israel is because they contested. They did not see the priest at the time of Jesus as to be a rightful priesthood. It wasn't. They didn't have the good, they didn't have the priesthood that was succeeded rightly. And so we have this, Pharisees are downstream from that. In which case they have used their piety and the fencing around the law to kind of pummel over the people. In which case they're not rightfully handling God's law. They use it to abuse people with their power. Same thing for the Sadducees, but in this course, Jesus is addressing the Pharisees. He says, you are the thieves and the robbers, essentially. They came in by fraudulent means. That's the context for our passage. I want to walk through just that was all my way introduction, just 3 points for verse 10. And they're this. They're the coming of the thief, the coming of the shepherd, and the purpose of his coming. Verse 10, the thief comes only to steal and to kill and destroy, but I have come they may have life and have it abundantly. Now the thief comes 2 ways, right? It comes or 3 ways, to steal, to kill, and destroy. That's what it says. Now the thief comes surprisingly, unexpectedly. It's the Greek word kleptes, where we get kleptomania, somebody who steals things. Right? Now this is a little bit different from another Greek word we have for robbers. Now, the ones that came before Jesus, he's saying, are characterized by their stealth. The ones that snuck into the fold. But this narrowing in verse 10, where Jesus is speaking about a singular thief, he's characterized by violence. He's here to steal, to kill, to destroy. Well, this is interesting. Jesus goes from plural thieves who snuck in to a singular thief who is inflicting violence. What's going on here? I think there's 3 possible answers going on through this thief. I think the first one is Jesus could be collectively speaking about all the Pharisees and Sadducees together and just saying, thief, you are now the thief in this one collective now. That could be a possibility. One, he could be referring to a greater false shepherd, a greater thief that's coming like the Antichrist. I think that's very possible too. I think the most likely answer is that Jesus is referring to Satan, the thief. In any case, Satan, I think, is behind the first 2 anyways, but I think that the thief is Satan for a few reasons. One is the appearance of the definite article. An apple, the thieves, or collective thieves, became the thief. Specifically, Luke is narrowing his focus. And this imagery, John is narrowing his focus, but this imagery is used like that in Luke's gospel, for example, the Lord's Prayer. This is why sometimes the Lord's Prayer is translated as deliver us from the evil one, because the appearance of the definite article shows up. So among the gospel writers, narrowing this focus isn't uncommon. And similarly, in Luke, this happens in the parable of the sowers, right? Where there's different types of soils, and the thief comes along and snatches it away. Or again, the gospel writers have narrowed. And I think John is doing something like that too. In which case, he's not just talking to the false teachers, he is, but all of a sudden he's narrowed his attention to the thief. Say, what's going on with him? Well, I think this thief, Satan, is being shown to be preceded by smaller thief. This progression or regression leads to a more sinister and a violent fall. Let me illustrate this. I read an article in a magazine called All Woman, in which a female pastor, use that very loosely, air quotes around that, encouraged Christian couples to view pornography in order to spice up their love life. She was believing that this was under the bounds of marriage, and she saw no way to say no to this. This is what she says regarding this. I'm quoting, "Of course I do it." Talking about watching pornography. "If you are married and you and your husband watch it to spice things up, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's a sin if you're not married, but when you're married, it can't be a sin. It should be between you, your husband, and the 4 corners of it." End quote. Now, like most lies, the most deadly lies aren't just lies but half-truths. What's true about what she said? Well, marriage is a good thing, man and woman, good. Sex should be private, yes. But this pastor is a false shepherd. The reason we say that is because she's encouraging and setting up this couple to fall. When you encourage them to watch pornography, it inescapably will lead to an adultery of the heart. There's no way around that. In which case, she is training that couple for an affair. This is the false shepherd. These are the kind of thieves that come before the greater fault, before the thief who comes. What's going to come next is the thief. What's going to come is committing an adultery, something that's going to steal, to kill, destroy the marriage of that couple, for example. Think about the logic of this. We hear this. We're really familiar with this in our culture. The reasoning is like this. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Okay. Where does that end? What happens while she's at work stays while she's at work. I mean, this is doomed from the outset. And of course, Christians, we can fall under this, though, more passively, more subtly, this type of deception. And how do we do this? How does that happen? Well, it becomes by not doing something, by not listening to the voice of the shepherd. That's how that happens. Now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's six men here, including myself. Statistics say that 3 out of 5 men are actively viewing pornography in the church. And women aren't off the hook of that either. There's a growing number of this. Have you heard this? Fighting the new drug kind of a movement has become aware just how it ravages marriages. Like we're not even surprised by this, but this is happening within the church. Pornography, for example, right? This is what happens when viewing pornography, for example, is that you're training yourself to fail. You're allowing the thief you're training yourself for the thief to come in, to steal and destroy, and come for your family, your marriage, for your gospel witness. And Satan wants it all. For those that are thinking, I'm not married, I don't know, I'm married, don't be a fool. Because Satan comes for your future marriage now. Looking at pornography, for example, before you go into marriage is going to end. You have trained yourself to fall. So sin, in many ways, is that first desensitizing thieves that come. It removes our garments. It puts us to sleep. It lowers the levy of the dam. It turns off your firewall. It leaves the gate unlocked. It's like the false shepherds who looked like real shepherds. They looked like they were outwardly deceiving people. But we couldn't tell that they were outwardly deceiving people. It's like that Trojan horse, right? Troy, people heard this? Troy didn't fall because they brought the Trojan horse in yet. Nothing happened yet. But they brought it in. And what happened that night when night fell came and everybody was asleep? Then the thief strikes. So here's the question, here's the challenge. Are you listening to the shepherd? Can you discern from the false shepherd or the hired hand before the thief can come? This is where it says in verse 3, to him the gatekeeper opens, the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. It's kind of like the analogy, if you've ever heard of spotting the counterfeit dollar bill, the way that it's the Secret Service, they're the ones that are in charge of anti-counterfeiting of money. The way that they're able to spot counterfeit money isn't by studying all the different counterfeits out there, but it's by studying and knowing their currency best. So, what do we have to do? Well, we should know our currency best. We need to know the voice of our shepherd best, so that the thieves can never come, or we recognize them when they do. The thief, singular, Satan cannot strike. Well, this slips right into a second main point, the coming of the shepherd. What does it say? I came that they may have life. Who came? Jesus. What did he do? He came. He initiated. And why did he come? That they may have life. This is not overly profound, but it's overly overlooked. The one who comes makes all the difference. Jesus, the good shepherd, is the one who comes. Jesus, God, man, fully God, obedient under the law. Our covenant Lord called up Abraham from his land, did mighty deeds before Pharaoh, who created Adam out of dust, who crushes his enemies, who comforts his people, who keeps his promises. That's the good shepherd who comes. Secondly, his coming means and applies and shows that he initiates, he takes action. It shows God's purpose is followed by whatever happens next. So when it says that I have come, whatever happens next in the text changes everything. And what does he say? That they may have life. The purpose clause, the life giver. I want to illustrate it this way. You guys remember 6 years ago when we had the Haiti earthquake? All the celebrities were going down to Haiti to rolling out the red carpet. Money was being dumped in the country. It was bad. The presidential house collapsed. We had a cholera outbreak 6 years ago. You guys remember this? Haiti earthquake? If you remember, all the celebrities that were heading there, all the songs that were made, and it was like, yes, we're going to do something. We're going to change things. And Haiti just got smashed again recently. But one of those people, one of those celebrities that we met there was Sean Penn. You guys know who Sean Penn is? There was this picture of Sean Penn in Haiti. He's standing next to this Humvee, like World Health Organization. He has this bulletproof vest on and his helmet. And there's Sean Penn. He's here to save the day. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm ever in Haiti or in any other country and a disaster like that hits, Sean Penn he's not really close to the top of the list of people I want to come. I'm not comforted by that. And when he comes, it makes all the difference. The coming of the Lord in contrast, this is more like the World Health Organization coming. I take more comfort in that. The one who comes is like a cure for cancer for a dying man. That's like the Lord's coming. It's like the Marines coming to an embassy who's under attack. I don't want somebody else coming. I want maybe Liam Neeson or something. It's like your Creator showing up to the belly of dry bones. Except that actually is that the Creator does go to the belly of dry bones and raise new life. He's the one that takes the initiation. So the one who comes makes all the difference. And their purpose with that. Now think about this, in the context again. The Jews have been wanting a king to come save them. They're looking for Mashiach. They're expecting Jesus, or whoever the Messiah was going to be, if people believe him or didn't believe him, some did, some didn't, to throw off the Romans. And they had tried this. Remember Judas Maccabeus, intertestamental period, briefly threw off the ruling authority for a time. Israel regained its sovereignty, but it was just a mess. Again, a contested priesthood, no prophet, no king, in a land that's constantly being invaded. But our shepherd, in contrast, the good shepherd, which means we place our faith in him. This is what Jesus is saying. I am the good shepherd. You're not going to find it in throwing off a robe. You're not going to find it in presidential election. You're going to find it in any of our leaders. Christ is the good shepherd. We place our faith in him. Now, Sean Penn, I don't want to pick on him saying he's a false shepherd, but he is certainly a hired man in this sense that he will flee in the press release. And I just point this out again because we have a lot of this lack of abuse too when it comes to third world countries. Sean Penn's organization, for example, had Haiti's only 600 miles away from Miami, and they racked up 126,000 miles in flights. Because it wasn't to and from. If it was to and from, that's 210 times. That didn't happen. This type of abuse, that's a hired man. What you need is Christ. And this is what it says in verse 4. When he's brought out his own, he goes before him, and the sheep follow him, they know his voice. So we come back to this question. How do you listen and know the shepherd's voice? Well, it's this. We get into his word. It's this. It's the Bible. Read this chapter by chapter, book by book, verse by verse. Read it until we have calluses on our fingers or until the pages wear out. Highlight it, meditate on it, and do it in that order. Read it and then meditate on it. Pray about it. Read yourself full. But you have to know Scripture, you know the voice of your shepherd so intimately. And when the hired man comes, when the false shepherd comes, or the thief comes, you know and you can spot him. And this leads us to our last point. The clarity of the shepherd's coming. Clarity of the shepherd's purpose. I have come that they may have life and that abundantly. Now, in order to just appreciate this contrast, this narrowing, I want to point out that this verse, in that abundantly, rests within this inspired piece of literature, this book, in a layered set of contrasts for a couple things. One is, first of all, just in the context, right? Jesus is speaking, or just healed a blind man. And now, he doesn't heal a deaf man, but what does he continuously say? If they hear my voice, it's like they are spiritually deaf. Luke does a similar thing too. Mark does a similar thing. If you guys remember this when it comes to the disciples, you remember when Jesus healed the blind man, he spit in the ground, and he took the mud, and he put it on the blind man's eyes, and then he says, what do you see? And then he says something like trees walking around, shadowy, whatever. And there's this weird, it's like, what is going on here? This two-stage healing. And what it's pointing back to is that the disciples were the one that saw, in part, murkily, that's a word, who Jesus was, but they didn't see with clarity. And that comes in the heals where Jesus heals a blind man, and then he heals a deaf man. Well, John is doing something that's a lot like that too. He's talking about listening and hearing the voice, but then on the heels of healing a blind man. In a similar way, just with more direct within our context of the passage, he's narrowing, like he went from thieves to the thief. Now he said they have life, and he narrows that they may have it abundantly. What does that then mean? Well, it's like this. If life is like Lazarus in the next chapter when he heals Lazarus from the dead, then the resurrection is abundant life. Think about this. Everybody who is raised from the dead in the New Testament time period by Jesus died again, except Jesus. That's abundant life. If life is survival, abundant life is prevailing. If life is a sun-scorched plant in a little pot of dirt, then abundant life is a lush garden. If life is like sending a high school football team in to play the best team in the NFL for the Super Bowl, can you imagine that? Somebody might actually be killed with that. Abundant life is like sending the best team in the NFL to go play the high school football team. It's that much more. It's that much greater. Now, the word is here for abundant life is that we have it to the full, that it's overflowing, it's exceeding, it's enduring, it's lasting, it's ongoing. And think about this, no pornography, come back to my issue that I keep pounding, within the bounds of marriage can give somebody abundant life. Or even as a single person, you may be a Christian, looking at pornography on the side, or your pet sin, you know what it is. You can't live consistently with that and have abundant life. Yes, you've been saved by Jesus. You're dealing with sanctification, there's works. I get it. But that's not abundant life. That's not what Jesus is talking about. And no false shepherd can give you abundant life. No well-meaning hired hand like Sean Penn can give you abundant life. They may train you to survive, but it's Christ that trains us to prevail, to have abundant life. Verse 5, a stranger they simply will not follow, but will flee from them because they do not know the voice of strangers. So we come to this question again. Are you listening to the voice of the shepherd? Do you know what the voice of the shepherd sounds like? We have to get into this. We have to get into God's word. We have to read ourselves full, pray ourselves empty, be refreshed by this, be nourished by this. You can't go to church once a week and think, this will sustain you. It's like, who here eats once a week? Anybody? I thought you were raising your chest.
At least.
Wow, that's pretty fast. We have to get to God's word. So, that's what it says. So Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. all who came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved. He will go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, to kill, to destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Let's pray. Father, we are so thankful for your word. We're so thankful for the clarity and sufficiency of your word, Lord. Lord, I pray that we can be nourished, we can chew on this for this day, for the rest of the week. Our Lord, I pray that this exhorts us, encourages us to get into your word, to know it, to know your voice, to understand it. And Lord, I pray that we would equip ourselves, that you would equip us through your word to know your voice, that we can recognize the hired man, we can recognize the false shepherds, Lord, and we can safeguard ourselves from the thief who comes to take our gospel witness, to take our marriage or our future marriage, Lord, to destroy the consistency of living the Christian life. Lord, I pray this and ask this in the name of